Welcome to Chiefs Live, everyone. Brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Josh Looney with you, and it feels like old times here on the Chiefs Live set, except we're not in an old closet with a backdrop banner, but I am coming to you solo today. Everyone is in Aruba for the Chiefs calendar shoot. Actually, I should check that. Everyone except Brad Young and I, but Brad, instead of sitting next to me, is back at his old post running the show behind the scenes. So myself and Brad with you, but we've still got a jam-packed show. The Chiefs, fresh off of rookie minicamp, come out with a 50 years in Kansas City celebration and a whole list of initiatives coming in here for the 2012 season. There's been some signings. We have a one-on-one interviews with Scott Pioli, Romeo Crennel, and Steve Wylie of the NFL Network. We also have interviews with some of the newest rookies, so a ton to get to in this week's Chiefs Live. And let's start out with the newest transactions. The Chiefs now have 6 of their 8 rookies under contract, with Daquan Minzy and Jeff Allen recently signing their deals. The Chiefs also add 3 players that tried out at last weekend's minicamp. There were 10 in total. 3 guys end up getting contract offers. 2 veteran players. Yes, veteran players in rookie minicamp. I know it's a head-scratcher, but it was allowed. You had 2 veteran players signing of those tryout players. It was linebacker Leon Williams, has played in 57 NFL games, signs as a linebacker, will add much-needed depth and competition to that position. Arguably, behind starters Jovan Belcher and Derek Johnson, the biggest question mark on this team post-draft was what they would do for depth at linebacker. The Chiefs like Brandon Seiler a lot, but we know Brandon Seiler coming off season-ending Achilles surgery that occurred last year in training camp. So how healthy is Brandon Seiler? Well, the Chiefs signed a veteran in Leon Williams after his tryout this weekend to add competition to that group. The Chiefs also in search of a need, in position of need, and in search of a tight end. They signed former Missouri standout Marvin Rucker. Rucker is a guy who played at the University of Missouri. He's a guy who had the Big 12's record-setting amount of receptions at the position. Martin Rucker did back when he left Missouri in 2008, a 4th-round pick of Romeo Crennel in Cleveland, as was Leon Williams in 2006. Martin Rucker joins the Chiefs and will compete for a tight end position. You presumably think the 3rd tight end spot behind Kevin Boss and Tony Moeaki if, and it's the if, another injury situation just like an inside linebacker, if Tony Moeaki can come back fully healed from that ACL injury he suffered last season. All signs are good for Moeaki, Barry, and Charles, but you never know until the guys get on the field. The Chiefs now have 5 tight ends under contract. Jake O'Connell, 6 actually, with Tim Biera of Kansas. Jake O'Connell, Steve Beneri switching from offensive line to tight end. You've got Rucker, Boss, and Moeaki. Of course, Moeaki will probably be limited mainly during this OTA session that kicks off on Monday. So the Chiefs, lots of bodies vying for time at tight end. And, of course, the last tryout player to ink a contract with the Chiefs, Dominique Ellis, a defensive back out of South Carolina State. He is a rookie free agent. And Ellis was a guy who made a positive first impression this past weekend at rookie minicamp. He had the big play of the day on the very first practice on Friday. He picked off quarterback David Legree in a high pass for Brandon Kinney, and it was the only turnover of the day. So Dominique Ellis turns that positive first impression into a rookie contract, and he joins a slew of defensive backs competing for time. The Chiefs also announced a signing. Yeah, there were 6 of them on Wednesday. Rich Ringland, offensive lineman, Central Connecticut State, 3 years in the Arena League, most recently actually of the Kansas City Command in 2011, actually was the AFL's Offensive Lineman of the Year. It brings the Chiefs roster count up now to 87 players. You can roster 90 for training camp, so still room for 3 more signings. And that 87 limit, the 87 they have under contract right now, it includes Dwayne Bowe, who has an unsigned franchise tender, and also includes the Chiefs' remaining 2 unsigned draft picks, Dontari Poe, the 1st-round pick, and Donald Stephenson, the 3rd-round pick. Well, let's get to meet some of these newest Chiefs who were in the building last week, starting with Devon Wylie, a guy who stood out. If there's a guy who stood out at rookie minicamp, it's 4th-round pick Devon Wylie. It's so hard for these guys to stand out in the setting. I've been asked by countless Chiefs fans who look good in minicamp. I said, well, you know, it's tough to tell because there's no hitting. It's a lot of meetings. It's limited offense versus defense time, a lot of individual drills, routes on air, things like that. Not a ton of competitive periods. So if you don't get chewed out by a coach, if you don't just look disastrous or out of shape, then you look pretty good. Well, one guy who actually did impress, though, in this underwear Olympics, as we like to call it, was Devon Wylie, the 4th-round pick out of Fresno. The guy comes as advertised. He looks fast. He can scoot. He's going to be an exciting player to watch. I know a lot of Chiefs fans are excited for Devon Wylie this season. Let's meet Devon Wylie as we talk to him after Friday's practice.
Speed your game. How do you like on this level, though, when everybody's fast? You still feel like your speed can play well?
It's very different, and I'm gonna have to increase my speed in my own way, and I'm gonna have to harness it, keep my feet under me a lot better. Today, I felt like I could have played a little better, but I got to play as fast as I can all the time in order to keep my speed and use that as an edge.
Is it more about pacing yourself over these 3 days, or getting that head start before the full squad mini camp goes through?
You have to go as hard as you can. There's no real way of pacing it. We got to learn as much as we can in this short time, this mini camp, and we got to get ready for the team camp.
Your contract, I believe, is done already. Is that nice?
Yes.
Is that out of the way?
Very nice, very relieving, and now I can just play football, focus on that.
A guy your size, there's always questions that can you take the pounding, that type of thing. Do you feel confident you're going to be able to take that beating?
Yeah, and part of my game is being elusive, quick, and being able to dodge hitters. That's the way I've been able to survive this far and been able to be successful with the size that I have. And yeah, I definitely feel I can play with this size of players.
Does it feel different out here? This isn't a regular NFL camp. It's the rookies and stuff like that. But how much different does this feel than just regular college stuff?
It feels completely different. A lot faster, a lot more intense. Every detail is extremely important. Just running around in my routes, I can already feel that, there's more guys around me. There's less space. Everyone's, catching on quicker, and everyone out here is really hungry. It's a mini camp. Free agents are trying to catch on and, do their thing and try out guys. They're trying to get on the team. So everyone's playing faster than they normally do. So.
And the coaching as well. You feel like there's more eyes on you watching what you're doing as well?
Yeah, definitely coaching is a lot more, highly tuned. Every route, every detail of it, just, the simplest thing can be, complex.
With the contract done, what's the first thing you're going to splurge on?
You know me, I've been pretty stingy with my money in life. Growing up, money was always very savored when we had it. So, first thing I'm going to do is just kind of hold on to it, and think about it and do something smart.
Wylie changes his number from 83 Wes Welker this week to number 19. It's what Steve Bresson wore during the preseason last year before ultimately switching to number 15. And if Wylie appears in a regular season game for the Chiefs this year wearing number 19, as we all expect he will, he'll become the first Chiefs player to wear that number since, that's right, Joe Montana. The number has been issued to players since Montana left Kansas City in '94. However, it has not been worn in a regular season game, so Devon Wylie could be the first Chief since Joe Montana to wear number 19. We also had Jeff Allen and Donald Stephenson in camp last week. And these two guys, well, they're big, and they're a 1-1, and you get guys that are kind of paired together when they come in. I think Bernard Pollard, Jared Page, Brandon Carr, Brandon Flowers. These guys are already kind of the pairing. They've got it going. They worked at left tackle and left guard next to one another, walked from drill to drill with one another, talked with one another. These two guys seem like this year's kind of natural pairing. They're the 2nd and 3rd round picks of the Chiefs. They play next to each other at rookie minicamp. They could be the left guard and left tackle of the future for this franchise. So Jeff Allen, the left guard, and Donald Stephenson, the left tackle, kind of paired at the hip this past week when we talked to Jeff Allen after the Chiefs Friday practice about his first day at Chiefs rookie minicamp.
What you expected?
Yeah, it's, the tempo's really fast. Everyone's a great player, so you got to kick it up a few notches.
Were you nervous out there?
I wasn't nervous. At the end of the day, it's football. Every football player gets those butterflies, but once you get out and get that first contact, you feel okay.
Have you bonded with anybody here early on yet?
Yeah, actually, Donald Stephenson, we're roommates right now, and he plays offensive line, so we have to be a tight-knit group. So me and him have been hanging out a while.
You were in left guard today. How comfortable did that feel?
I felt comfortable. It's a lot different than tackle. You got to be less patient, use your hands quicker.
Does it obviously, first practice of minicamp, was there some thinking time involved for you every time you went to the line? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a process. You know, we all just got the playbooks yesterday, so we're in the books last night, and you know, you just got to take the time to study so you can come out and play fast each day.
What's the difference between a college playbook and a pro playbook? A lot bigger, more complicated, or is it just all kind of the same thing as football?
It's football. It's a lot of the same concepts, just different terminology. But NFL playbooks, they throw a lot more at you because it's just football. This is your profession now. It's no more school.
And what are their expectations? Obviously, you have to know it all today. They're giving you little pieces. Or?
No, they expected you to know the day one install. That's what we went over today. They expected us to come out and be able to execute that. And, I think that's what we did.
It's only just begun. It's going to be like that for a while, right?
Yep.
What's the playbook like? Is it daunting looking at it? Or?
No, it's you know, it's pretty much the same concept. I just got to get the terminology down. I mean, it is more complicated, but that just means you have to look at it more. So.
Don, what are your expectations for when you'll be ready to help out here?
I really, you know, whenever they call on me, whenever they need me, I'll be happy to help.
With both of these players, a lot of folks wonder where exactly will they fit in with the Chiefs roster in 2012. In fact, many believe that Jeff Allen is on track to take over the starting left guard position from Ryan Lilja. I would say not so fast. Lilja, a veteran, isn't going to let this position come right out of his grip. He's also the leader of this group. And keep this in mind, Brandon Albert is returning. The left guard position, let's say that Jeff Allen beats out Ryan Lilja. That's a new spot. Rodney Hudson will be a new starter at center. Your right guard is John Asamoah, who would be returning for a second year. And then your starting right tackle is scheduled to be Eric Winston. So if Lilja were to be replaced by Jeff Allen as a rookie this season, that'd be 2 of the 5, just 2 of 5 offensive linemen returning. A lot of offensive linemen talk about continuity. In fact, we heard Eric Winston talk about it earlier this offseason, continuity and getting a feel for one another and building that. If the Chiefs only have 2 of 5 returnees, you wonder how that continuity will actually be. It will still be a position between Ryan Lilja, battle between him and Jeff Allen at that left guard spot. I don't have any inside track on who could possibly win this battle. And I think it's far too early to tell as the two haven't been on the same field as one another, much less have we even seen Jeff Allen in pads, but it's what fans are talking about. But I think it's interesting to note that if Allen were to become a starter, it would give the Chiefs just 2 returning offensive linemen that played last season. It's something to take into account. Also something to take into account about Jeff Allen is, you see him highlighted there at right and left guard. He's actually left guard. Illinois has this kind of funky offense where they'll go strong and weak side, so he's really a left tackle, but he ends up lining on both the left and right side. He's going to have to move from tackle to guard this season, so he's going to have to undergo a position switch. But also look at the history of Scott Pioli draft picks. Let's start with John Asamoah in 2010. He learns a year behind Brian Waters and Ryan Lilja. Waters is released before training camp last year after 1 year learning the system for Asamoah. He got a start under his belt, 1 start as a rookie. And then he comes in and becomes a starter 1 year into his tenure. How about Rodney Hudson, a second-round pick in 2011? He learns behind Casey Wigman and also behind guards John Asamoah and Ryan Lilja last year, 1 year in the Chiefs system. And Rodney Hudson is now scheduled to start. So Jeff Allen, if you follow that blueprint, Ryan Lilja in the final year of his contract in 2012, 1 year behind Lilja, behind Asamoah, and then thrust in the lineup in 2013. That blueprint is something that's interesting to watch with the offensive line situation. So a lot of things to pay attention to, not only with Allen, but also with Stephenson, who could possibly be, if he's able to make an impact in training camp and in OTAs, could possibly be your swing tackle behind Brandon Albert and Eric Winston if he shows he's more than just a developmental player here in his first year. Stephenson, just 2 years of NCAA Division I starting experience for the Sooners. Of course, he did it at a high level for Oklahoma. The Chiefs love his athleticism. They admit right now he probably is further away from Allen and some of the other rookies from playing. We won't truly know until he gets out there against NFL competition. This rookie minicamp this past weekend, extremely hard to tell exactly how good he will be against that competition, as he wasn't going up against any veterans and there was no hitting. But Stephenson, a big offseason for him as well in OTAs and training camp, as he will try to vie for the number 3 tackle position, where he'd be the primary backup at right and left tackle to both Eric Winston and Brandon Albert. And don't count out the fact of Jeff Allen, who was an offensive tackle in college. If he doesn't win that starting job at left guard, but he performs better than Donald Stephenson, and they like him better than Donald Stephenson as a tackle in here in year 1, don't count out the fact that Allen could possibly be your number 1 backup to both tackle positions and both guard positions. I think last year of Rodney Hudson, who was drafted to be a center but was a guard in college, and with Casey would have been doing his Iron Man streak thing last year, got in and ended up getting a start at guard last year when Ryan Lilja was injured, and now he's going to end up playing center and make that move permanent. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jeff Allen continue to get reps at tackle as well as guard. It's something to chart as we go forward here in the offseason. One of the rookie free agents everybody has been talking about since he signed is Dexter Heyman, a linebacker out of Louisville. I'll tell you one thing about Dexter Heyman. This guy, he looks the part. If you could draw up what an NFL linebacker would look like, it looks like Dexter Heyman. This guy is swell. He's built. I mean, he is bulked up. He looks like a bigger version of Demario Williams. I'm excited to see this guy play. He looks athletic. He looks like he can run, but can he hit? I want to see what happens when the guy gets his pads on, because at linebacker, as we said, underwear Olympics this past weekend, Dexter certainly looks the part, but we won't truly know until he starts running and hitting. He's going to have to find his way on special teams as he battles for a reserve position. I talked to Dexter Heyman following Sunday's minicamp practice, one-on-one at the Chiefs facility. Let's hear what he had to say. How'd it go this week, Dex?
I think it went pretty well, all things being considered. The rookies came out here, and we came out here ready to compete, and we got a lot done. And we're just all really excited to be here, and we're proud to be Chiefs.
For a guy like you that's a linebacker and it's a camp where you can't hit, what's your mindset going in for being a guy who likes to hit?
Just me, honestly, it really makes no difference. I mean, football is football in any capacity. So we get out here and we run around without pads, but I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to be in position to make the plays that you're supposed to make. So going forward, obviously, can't wait to get the pads on. I think the old linemen are a little more anxious for that than say some of the guys are. But obviously, can't wait to get the pads on and get it running with some of these veterans. I'm really proud to be a Chief, and really glad to be here and really excited.
What surprised you during this 3-day minicamp?
I think the pace really surprised me. Moving from one drill to the next, and the flow of practice was a lot more crisp than say what would be in college. But the pace definitely, and the coaching, and definitely some of the things, the mental aspect of the game also. You're talking about studying your playbook and knowing what checks to make, when, and things like that. That was really surprising.
You're one of 15 guys that came in that undrafted. How have you turned the page from probably the disappointment of not hearing your name on draft day and looking forward to an NFL career regardless?
Well, there's really no page to turn. Whether you're drafted or whether you're not, you really have to come into this league with a chip on your shoulder, and you have to make a name for yourself. As for me, in my personal situation, I'm just really happy to be here. I'm blessed that someone gave me a chance to come out here and be able to compete at the level that I always dreamed of competing at. And from here going forward, it's just all about helping this football team win games.
You certainly look the part, and you say chip on your shoulder and doing something to stand out. What do you think that is that you can bring that might differentiate you from other linebackers and other rookies?
Well, as of right now, it's really hard to tell. You know, we were talking about not having pads on and things like that. So basically what I want to do is get around the veterans and learn from those guys as much as possible, and just be a sponge. I mean, that's really what being a rookie is all about, getting on special teams and being a sponge if that's the opportunity that's presented to you. And guys like Derek Johnson and even some of the guys that we're going to meet later on, you know, some of these Hall of Famers, they have really good wisdom and really good insight into the league that they can pour out into us, and I just want to be a sponge and soak it all up.
Fans know a lot about the draft picks, but they're just starting to learn you guys that came in undrafted. What kind of player are you? How would you describe yourself to Chiefs fans?
I'd like to say I'm a savvy player. A savvy player that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty, but in this league, just about everybody's a savvy player who doesn't mind getting their hands dirty. So we'll just see how the Cards play. And like I said, I'm just really excited to be here and really happy to have a chance and an opportunity.
And this week, did you rep on the weak side, the strong side, or a little bit of both?
No, well, there weren't many linebackers in the rookie minicamp, so I guess everything was just kind of me and Leon, the other guy that was here, we both played, Mike and Will. I played more Mike than anything else, but we just learning the playbook. You have to learn what everybody does, especially from a linebacker point of view.
Well, we talked to Dexter on Sunday afternoon, and that was right before the Chiefs, I would say, unofficially kicked off their 50th anniversary celebration, because you had Hall of Famers in attendance, a handful of Chiefs greats from Bobby Bell, Willie Lanier, Lynn Dawson, Jan Stonerud, Emmett Thomas. You had Will Shields in there, and as well as a number of other former players. Deron Cherry, Danon Hughes were on hand for the Chiefs rookie dinner, and basically this was the final piece of orientation for these rookies, where they got to sit down with Chiefs greats, Chiefs legends, and find out exactly just what it is to be a Chief, what that honor means, and what they can expect in playing in the NFL, and of course the rich history of this franchise, to kind of give them that whole orientation of what they're walking into, why the fans love the Chiefs the way they do, and just to give them an overview of this organization. It's a new thing that Romeo Crennel and Scott Pioli have brought in. I think it's a fantastic way to kind of usher these rookies into their new culture here in Kansas City. We had footage from that, including Bobby Bell hustling Dontari Poe in his famous coin game. If you've ever met Bobby Bell, you've probably been hustled by the coin game. Dontari Poe did not know what was coming from. Let's take a look at the rookie dinner.
This is our house.
Welcome to Arrowhead.
There you go. I'm gonna take the quarter, put the dime on you. Now I'm gonna go back and get the dime.
And one.
Yeah, it's gonna be that quiet. You keep your hand closed now, okay? You keep your hand closed until somebody tell you to open it, right? You ready? Watch the hand, watch the hand. Hey, don't do it, don't open your hand. I tell you what, you know. What's that there? What's that there?
It's not a right, it's a privilege to be involved in the National Football League. And the guys that are in this room right now are the reason you guys are here. It's the reason I'm here. It's the reason every one of these coaches are here. The NFL exists because of the people that are in this room spending Mother's Day to introduce you guys to the NFL. We're going to do everything in our power to make you all great football players, but we're also going to teach you how to respect the game and respect the people before you. Because without the Willies, the Bobbies, the other Willie, Danons, without all these folks in here, Lenny and Jan, without these people, this doesn't exist.
And we talked about opportunities, all right? You guys have an opportunity that a lot of people out on the streets would love to have the opportunity. They'd love to be sitting here right now. So take advantage of that. Put everything you can into it and do your best, and then let the chips fall where they may. And make sure, if you haven't called your moms yet, call them and say Happy Mother's Day to them. Okay? All right, appreciate it.
Well, that's inside the Chiefs rookie dinner. The funniest thing about that to me is Dontari Poe had no idea that usually it's a nickel or a dime that Bobby Bell uses. He may have used a quarter as well, but he usually likes the smaller coins. And he tells Dontari, don't open that hand. You know, so when Bobby does that to you, you can't tell if that coin's in your hand. But you think, look, this old man, yeah, he might have been a good player. He might be a Hall of Famer, one of the best players to ever play the game. But, hey, I'm a 22-year-old kid. My reflexes are still going to be better than a guy who's in his 70s. Not so fast. Bobby Bell takes that coin out of your hand. I've never seen Bobby lose that. And what's funny to me is Dontari he's shaking the hand trying to find out if that coin's in there. And he opens it up, and it looked like the coin might have actually fallen to the floor at some point. He opens that hand up. Everybody's laughing at Poe, the first-round pick. He'd just been schooled. Add another one up to the checklist for Bobby Bell. He wins his coin game. So if you ever meet Bobby Bell on the streets, go ahead and try the coin game with him. If you win, maybe we'll bring you on Chiefs Live because you'll be the only person that I know in the history to beat Bobby Bell at his own game. We're going to head over to if you see right here, so we're going the slow motion. He's got it right there. Bobby kind of decent, but look at the intent on that, and he even gives him the point. That's why I love it. He gives him the point. Like, replay that, Brad. Okay, he's intense. He's talking some smack. He keeps your attention away, and then he's just so quick right there. He's so quick, and he goes to the boat. But now look at this. Young man, I still got you, and the point. I got you right there. I love it. It's the point. It's kind of almost Todd Haley-esque Josh McDaniels at the end of that Denver game in 2009. Awesome. Whenever it was, 2009, 2010. That was incredible right there. Giving Dontari Poe the Chiefs' first-round pick, the point. Bobby Bell, legend still shows he's got the reflexes. Hey, maybe we need him to put on some pads if Seiler and the rest of these linebackers behind Johnson and Belcher need a little help. Bobby Bell, I just think it's so funny. Schooling the young buck. He had the Chiefs rookie dinner, and it's something that I think the rookies will remember, and hopefully they took a lot away from getting to rub shoulders with those Hall of Famers and learn about the franchise. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll go one-on-one with Steve White from the NFL Network, GM Scott Pioli, Romeo Crennel, and we'll also take a look at the Chiefs' 50 years in Kansas City celebration. We'll be right back on Chiefs Live.
Together, we are music. Hearts beating to the same drum. We are many, but we are one. Brothers of the Sun.
The concert event of the year. Brothers of the Sun Tour. Superstars Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, with Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, and Jake Owen. Tickets are on sale now. Presented by Corona Light.
So I'll just sit right here and have another beer in Mexico. It's summertime. Sweet summertime.
I pull up to the game and all I smell is barbecue. I see everybody with their jerseys on, just out tailgating. Everybody's yelling, honking their horns in their cars, offering me barbecue on the way before the game. I mean, everybody's just friendly. I mean, it's just a wonderful city to play football in, man. Our fans are good in the stadium and out of the stadium. They just treat everybody with respect, and you gotta love that. This city is built like a family. This is a great place to be, and I love it.
Well, that's one of the 50-year spots with Eric Berry. You're going to see that ad campaign this year. If you remember last year, you had a lot of Chiefs season ticket holders and Chiefs fans talking about the Arrowhead experience, why they're Chiefs fans, why they like coming to Arrowhead. This year, for 50 years in Kansas City, you're going to see player spots. Guys like Eric Berry talking about what the team and that fans mean to them. And we'll also have a lot of alums speaking as well. Lynn Dawson spot ran last night. Actually, this week it started running here in Kansas City about the Chiefs' 50 years in Kansas City celebration. Let's take a look at Lynn Dawson's new ad campaign with the Chiefs.
When I hear the number 50 here in Kansas City, and I was here in the very first year when the franchise came here, that tells me that I've been here a long time, a half a century. The Kansas City Chiefs belong to the fans. You know, they're the ones that show up. They're the ones that cheer. It isn't just on Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium when people come out to see an exciting football game. It's the Kansas City Chiefs who believe that, hey, this is 50 years we've been involved. We were theirs. We belong to them. When you win, everybody's a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, but what about when you're not winning? You know, how strong is the feeling then? There has been loyalty with so many of these fans. Kansas City is my home. It's been my home since the team arrived here in 1963, and I wouldn't want to live anyplace else.
Well, those are the type of ads you can expect from current players and former players throughout the spring, summer, and of course the fall as the Chiefs celebrate 50 years in Kansas City. You saw the logo there. It's official logo. You'll be able to buy products with this logo in all sorts of different colors, but essentially it's Kansas City Chiefs kind of with the old font with 50 in the helmet. And that old font is based off of the coaching jerseys that Hank Stram and his staff, and of course Lamar Hunt here, wore way back when the Chiefs first came to Kansas City in 1963. You see that original logo up close, and it's the same font, same look, except for the football is turned into the old school looking Chiefs helmet with the 50. So the logo that the Chiefs have put on mimics and mocks the logo that Hank Stram and his coaching staff wore back in 1963. So that's where that logo comes from. Again, there'll be all sorts of Chiefs memorabilia that'll be coming out. The Chiefs Online Pro Shop, the team store at Arrowhead Stadium, and of course it'll be available in the Caravan and all the things we have going on to celebrate 50 years in Kansas City. Go to KCChiefs.com for a list of the initiatives. There'll also be more information upcoming in the coming months about our tour we'll be having with the Hall of Famers, with the Super Bowl trophy. We'll be traveling around, and there's also a way for you fans to submit your own memories and tweet your own memories to the Chiefs and a special 50th website. It's all on KCChiefs.com. Check it out. You can't miss it. A lot of cool things happening this year for 50 years in Kansas City. So this week we were at Union Station officially unveiling the initiatives for 50 years here in Kansas City. And Union Station, of course, one of the most historic buildings in all of Kansas City. And hopefully one day you'll have that Super Bowl parade. It'll be winding through the streets of downtown, and everyone will convene in front or inside Union Station. Pretty historic place. Has a big mark in Kansas City, but also could potentially play a big mark in the future of Kansas City and the Chiefs and this franchise as the Chiefs strive to one day get back to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl and bring it back home to Kansas City. So with all the championship talk inside Union Station, a lot of people from Clark Hunt to Scott Pioli to Romeo Crennel, we're talking about where's this team in their quest for a championship? Is this team ready to compete for a Super Bowl? How far away? And of course, none of those guys gave a timeline. I will say it was interesting that Romeo Crennel did say, however, that the skill talent, overall skill talent of this team, and that's from wide receiver to running back to defensive back to cornerback, the skill talent overall on this Kansas City Chiefs team, Romeo Crennel said, rivaled any of his Super Bowl championships he's been on. This is a guy with 5 rings. He has 5 Super Bowl rings. He said this year's Chiefs team, if everyone's healthy and everyone returns, that includes Muaki, Barry, Charles from their knee injuries, and that includes Matt Castle from his hand injury. If those guys return as a collective group, the skill positions are as talented as any he's coached. So obviously high expectations for this year's Chiefs team. But it's 50 years in Kansas City. I also wanted to get some historic moments and memories, I guess, from Romeo Crennel and Scott Pioli of Arrowhead Stadium, both since they've been here in 2009 on, and of course before, because both of these guys have been in football. They're NFL lifers, have been associated with Arrowhead Stadium in one way or another in this Chiefs franchise, even before their paychecks started coming from one Arrowhead drive. Let's start with Scott Pioli. I talked to him in Union Station this week about the Chiefs, and he told an interesting story about a photo he had in his room before he ever became associated with the Chiefs. 50 years in Kansas City celebrated today at Union Station. Chiefs GM Scott Pioli joins us on KCChiefs.com. You're underneath the clock, a historical mark here in town, and you're a historical guy. How special is it to be in this building?
This is my favorite building in the city. I love this building. I remember the first time I brought my parents here, and it's the history here, besides what happened out in the parking lot a lot of years ago, the history here in this building is amazing. And the architecture, I mean, I don't know, make sure you guys get shots of the ceiling. The job that they did restoring this building, and it's amazing. Again, this is we're going to have a special event here someday. I'm not going to say what, but there'll be a special event here someday. This is my favorite building in the city. It really is.
You seem like would you consider yourself a historical buff, just in general?
Well, not in general. I used to be. As a matter of fact, when I first went to school, when I was a boy, what I wanted to grow up and be was an American history teacher and the high school coach, head high school coach at Washingtonville High School. That's what I thought my life was. I had, never gone outside of the small circle of my hometown. Before I went to college, the furthest south I had been was Philly, the furthest west was Syracuse, the furthest north was Springfield. So my world revolved around, where I grew up, and I thought I was going to always be an American history teacher and high school coach at Washingtonville High School. So history has always been important to me. And then being a football fan my whole life, I just love the history of this game. And I'm a firm believer that we are all very fortunate. Me, you, any of us working in the NFL or around the NFL, we're living the dream, Josh, and we need to respect the people that built this game and made this game the way it is. And it's not just the coaches, it's not just the owners, it's not just the players, it's the fans. I mean, I grew up a fan. So I love the history of this game.
Now, I asked Romeo these two exact questions. I'm going to ask you because they're pretty interesting answers. And for fans, obviously, and for you, Arrowhead Stadium, an iconic monument not only in the city, but in the NFL as a whole. So absolutely. The first question I ask you, since 2009, since you've been here, what's your favorite memory that's occurred inside Arrowhead Stadium? My favorite memory favorite game was probably the Monday night San Diego game, the first one in the rain. My favorite memory of the stadium is I repeat it every home game. It's when I walk into the stadium with my daughter, and we get to walk, along the sidelines of the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium and hold my daughter's hand and just walk and take in something that I know someday I won't be able to do. So my favorite memory is my pregame walk with my daughter. Okay, now being a lifelong NFLer and loving that history of football before you came to Kansas City, what has stood out to you about Arrowhead Stadium? Maybe you have a favorite memory in there, maybe it's just something that, okay, this is what I really like about Arrowhead. You know what, when you're an opponent, there's not much that you like about Arrowhead. You respect the building, you respect the fans, but there's not a lot to like because you usually came in here and got whooped. So, the memory again that I had was the first time that I was with a team actually playing in a game, because I had been here a number of times as an advanced scout when I was working in pro personnel. And so the first memory of being part of a team and participating is the first whipping I got here. But my favorite memory as an opponent coming into the stadium was actually as an advanced scout. It probably sounds a little silly. It wasn't a game that I was involved with, but I was working for the New York Jets, and I was advanced scouting the Kansas City Chiefs were getting ready to play. And I remember walking into the press box, the smell of barbecue, and I remember being, wow, this is Arrowhead. And walking in, and there was this giant picture of the huddle from the 1971 game, and it was Lenny with his back to the camera, and you could, they're in the choir boy huddle, and it's actually up in your area right now, that enormous picture. And to see the players and knowing the history of that game, I mean, Ed Podolak is in it, the receivers have to stick them on their socks, and it's just this iconic photo of this is the NFL, this is the history of the league. And a very funny story, this is probably longer answer than you want, but I remember after that game and seeing that picture, I fell in love with this picture. I keep some historical things about the league. I actually ended up contacting Bob Moore, who I didn't know at the time, and asked Bob, is there any way I can get a copy of that picture? And I got a 16 by 20 poster size of that picture. It took me a long time to get it, but Bob helped me get that. Again, this is in 1997. I'm working for the New York Jets. And when I got married, my wife moved into my house, and I have different things up, and in this one room, I have this picture. Everything is, formally of the teams and the places I had been, but in this room, I have this 16 by 20 poster. I've got Cleveland Browns things, I've got New York Giants things because they were my favorite team growing up. And my wife walked, she goes, "What's with the Chiefs picture?" And lo and behold, it was a sign that of things to come and place that I was going to be. But that's my one biggest memory of my first time in Arrowhead, was that picture and seeing. I mean, that was Lenny the Cool. Have you asked him to sign it? He's around. Have you?
I have. I've had Lenny. I actually have a signed Sports Illustrated of Lenny that I have in my office at home, because again, I mean, this is the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Lynn Dawson. I mean, Willie Lanier. To be around those people, it's really, for someone who grew up a fan and just loved, again, everyone I think has an NFC team and an AFC team. The Chiefs are always my AFC team.
In addition to talking to Scott Pioli, we're also able to catch up one-on-one with Romeo Crennel. I was able to ask Romeo where he thinks this team is right now, how happy he is with them after minicamp. And, of course, those same two questions I asked Scott Pioli at the end of that interview, his favorite memory as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, and what stands out to him about Arrowhead and the Chiefs franchise from before he joined the Chiefs. Of course, I think most of you can guess what his favorite memory is since he's been associated with the Chiefs. Not a whole lot of drama. It has to deal with last year and the Green Bay Packers. Let's go to Romeo Crennel and hear what he had to say at Union Station this week. The Chiefs officially kicked off 50 years in Kansas City celebration at Union Station. Join us on KCChiefs.com. Chiefs head coach Romeo Crennel. Coach, I'm going to put you outside the coaching life for a second, and just as a football fan, 50 years of this franchise, the 50th year in Kansas City, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know what, I think that's very special for 50 years, you know, that this team has been in Kansas City and has had a good record, a lot of success. I think it's really important that there's so many of the former Chiefs who still live here in town, and they like the community, they like the environment, they liked playing here, and so that just says a lot about the team, the community, and what Kansas City is all about.
And you even have some former players and some Hall of Famers that don't live here that come into town. Willie Lanier flew in from Virginia this weekend to speak to some of the rookies along with all of his Hall of Fame buddies. What was it like having those guys back?
Hey, that was really, really special and really a great experience for me as well as for the rookies to hear those guys talk about their careers and talk about football and how they approach the game. Hopefully those rookies learn something.
I'm going to ask you a two-part question. It's both about Arrowhead Stadium being iconic. First, your favorite memory since you've been here as a coach that's occurred at Arrowhead?
Well, that has to be the Green Bay game, which was the first game that I was acting head coach with the Chiefs, and we were able to win that against an undefeated team coming into Arrowhead. And our fans were great, and we used that sea of red, and those voices lifted us to victory.
I had a feeling, I'm sure everyone had a feeling that would have been your answer to that one. But outside of being a coach, before 2009, what stands out to you about Arrowhead? Maybe you have a favorite memory. Maybe you have just something that sticks out to you about that stadium.
Well, no, the only thing that sticks out is because before that, I was coming in on the opposing team. And the thing that sticks out is that everybody always talked about Arrowhead being a tough place to play, and then coming in to play in Arrowhead and hear the volume of the voices, all right, was difficult. And so how loud Arrowhead can be for the opposing team, that always has stuck with me.
Now, it's only May. We've only had one weekend of rookie minicamp, but it's a special season being 50 years in Kansas City. It's a special season being your first year as head coach. How do you feel about the team right now in mid-May?
Well, I feel good right now because, like I told everybody, we haven't played in the games yet. You know, in the off season, everybody feels good. Everybody's optimistic. The thing that we have to do is we have to indoctrinate the young players into our system and learn our terminology, and then put them on the field with the veterans and see where they are and see if they can catch up. But I think with the added talent that we've put on the team, that we've increased the depth, overall depth. And so the competition level has been increased, and I think that will make everybody better.
Steve Weiss of the NFL Network was also in town, and he came to the Chiefs' 50 years in Kansas City celebration, did a nice piece on NFL Network about the franchise and the history that goes into this franchise in 50 years here in this town. He also talked to Scott Pioli about this year's draft class, about this year's free agent class, talked to Romeo Crennel, to Clark Hunt. And when he was done talking with all these high-level executives for the Chiefs and sending his interviews back to NFL Network, I wanted to talk to Steve about his impressions of this year's Chiefs team. A lot of national media, and hey, let's give love where love is due, Chiefs fans, because I hear a lot of complaints of Chiefs fans that the Chiefs never get any love nationally. And sure, And you'll see, I gave Steve a hard time about this in the NFL Network's coverage. We don't hear a ton of Chiefs coverage nationally. And when we do, it seems to be that they're down on the franchise or they're never really talking up the Chiefs. But this year, give credit where credit is due, the Chiefs are a trendy pick to be a worst to first finisher. A lot of folks are picking the Chiefs to win this AFC West division. They finished 7-9, and even though they're one game out of first place last year and weren't eliminated from the playoffs until week 16, they still finished fourth place in the AFC West this year. Well, for 2012, they're a trendy pick of many, including Steve Wyche, to do the worst to first turnaround and win the AFC West. Let's go to Steve from Union Station to hear what he had to say. Well, the national media flew into Kansas City right here at Union Station for the Chiefs' 50th year in Kansas City. Steve Wyche, NFL Network. This means we're going to get to stop hearing about Tim Tebow, Colt McCoy, the Cowboys, the Giants. We're going to hear some Chiefs coverage on the NFL Network this week.
It's not like you're not going to stop hearing about those other things. We'll just throw a little Chiefs into the jambalaya. But absolutely, I mean, besides just this 50th anniversary, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. The Chiefs have had a great offseason, free agent-wise. I mean, getting a guy like Eric Winston and Peyton Hillis and guys like that in here. And, they had a good draft. They drafted on Terry Poe. They think it's going to, help the defense. So, look, the AFC West is going to be the most talked about division because you've got the Chargers, who could be good. Phillip Rivers, there's North Turner on the hot seat there, of course. And the Raiders are always newsworthy. And that new number 18 up in Denver. So Kansas City's going to be in the mix. They've got a good opportunity to really create a stir there.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of work. You've talked to Scott Pioli, Romeo Crennel, Clark Hunt. What are your opinion of the draft? We just saw the draft picks in this past weekend for the first time here in Kansas City. They went through their 3-day rookie minicamp. How do you grade the Chiefs draft this year?
Well, I mean, it's kind of an incomplete because the offensive and defensive linemen, it's so hard to always grade right now. But I mean, you embody that with what they did in free agency. There's some splash there. I mean, the Chiefs are already a good team. Everyone knows the injuries are why last season happened the way it did. You get back Tony Moeaki and you get back Matt Castle, Jamal Charles, but you backstop them. Okay, you've got them helping. You've got depth. You signed Kevin Boss. You get Peyton Hillis. You've got some extra security there in case if you get an injury, this team's going to be okay. They've bolstered themselves at the right positions. Now, granted, injuries can still crop up and hurt a team, but they've got some insurance there. Again, Kansas City's a very talented team, which is why quietly there are expectations out there for them to be a playoff contender.
Yeah, it's interesting. They seem to be this year's kind of trendy worst to first pick. Finished fourth in the AFC West last year, 7-9. A lot of folks have them as being the best of the rest. One of the teams that's going to make the playoffs in 2012 that didn't last year. You share that view?
I do. I mean, it's not a situation when you say the worst in the division. They weren't 3-13 like a lot of teams. They were right there in a division that was won by 8-8 and had 3 8-8 teams. So they were close. And again, injuries were the reason. I know Scott Pioli and Romeo aren't going to say, hey, injuries, there's no excuse. Someone's got to step up. But just look what happened. I mean, when Matt Castle went out, kind of the flavor of the team left. And Jamal Charles out early, they just could never kind of get in sync right there. Now again, but what they did in free agent, getting a stud tackle like Eric Winston. I mean, the fact he hit the free agent market was a surprise. I mean, he's a very good player. He's going to add something to that offensive line he didn't have before. So again, the components are in place, and you look at the other teams in division. San Diego's got some weak spots on defense. I mean, the Raiders, you don't know what they're going to be yet. Is Carson Palmer really going to fit? And Denver, they wanted it 8-8. Yeah, Peyton Manning gives them all the sizzle and the attention, but they've got a brutal schedule, and is it all going to come together? Kansas City's kind of got the nucleus in place more than any of the other teams in division. So again, I think they're a team that should really compete and possibly make hay should they get in.
Here in Kansas City, Matt Castle's a hot topic. A lot of fans will know, is he going to be 2008, 2010 Matt Castle or 2011, 2009 Matt Castle? What do you think it's going to take for the Chiefs and Matt to be successful in 2012?
Well, we know he's going to work hard. I mean, that's one thing he's always done, even when he wasn't a starter in college and up in New England. He's going to work hard. But having Tony Moeaki, having Dwayne Bowe have another type season, having Jonathan Baldwin grow up, that's really going to help. The fact that they can diversify the passing game and use the running game to set that up. And Peyton Hillis is going to give them a dimension that they didn't even have with Thomas Jones. I mean, he's physical, he's fast, and then Jamal Charles can come back. That's going to help Matt Castle spread things out a little bit, keep defenses guessing. I mean, that's one thing sometimes because of limited options and injuries, the offense can be a little bit predictable. Okay, now they've got some options to spread things out a little bit. If Matt Castle can remain accurate, if he can put the ball on the spot, I think he's got a chance to put up some big numbers and help the team win.
What are some of the question marks still remaining, in your opinion, about this team and what needs to be answered, whether they are or aren't going to be successful next season?
Matt Castle. I mean, we can talk all we want about the work ethic and everything. He's got to show it. I mean, I think that's a big question. If he shows it, this team will be good, because defensively, there is no reason why the Chiefs shouldn't be good. I mean, that defense last year was stacked. Romeo Crennel knows what he's doing. So again, the health. Can Moyaki, I mean, he's such a good player. Can he stay healthy? He's had the injury concerns. Can the offensive line come together and be consistent with an infusion of a guy like Eric Winston? You know, the health is pretty much the issue. There's no forgiveness for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. The talent is there. They've got the nucleus in place. They've put the spokes into the cog. Got to get the quarterback play. Got to stay healthy. They've got to be consistent. They do that, they will be in the hunt to possibly get even to the playoffs.
If you get the NFL Network, make sure you check out Steve Weiss. A number of his interviews have not aired yet on the network. He's had the one with Scott Pioli and also the Chiefs' 50 years in Kansas City celebration, but he also talked to Romeo Crennel and Clark Hunt, so keep an eye out for those interviews and more on the NFL Network over the next week. Well, it's almost June. We're closing out the final weeks in May. OTAs begin on Monday, the 21st, which means veterans and rookies will be on the field in a practice environment where offense can go against the defense. Still no hitting, but you can have competitive periods beginning on Monday. So football is getting near. Once we hit June, you get the mini camps, and then things kind of go dead, and before you know it, June, July, well, end of July, it's training camp time. Football is coming back. It is almost here, and those training camp battles, well, they begin on Monday because, and I'll write about it next week on KCChiefs.com, there's a lot of position battles, and there's some starting jobs, but a lot of reserve jobs that are up for grabs that the competition will start here in OTAs on Monday, because there's some positions that are heavy right now with players that I don't see the Chiefs going even into training camp with the amount of players they have. You'll start shaving off guys as OTAs go through, get to your 90-man limit before training camp, and then, of course, the guys will go to battle and try and win spots to be part of the 2012 Kansas City Chiefs team. Thanks for joining us once again on a Thursday. Reminder, we're Thursdays out through the remainder of this offseason to better coordinate with the Chiefs offseason schedule, bringing you better coverage each and every week here on Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Next week, it'll be back to a normal show. Mitch Holdus will probably take a break from hanging with cheerleaders in Aruba, rough life. The rest of our producers will be back, and even if Mitch isn't back, Brad Young will be back in the seat with me instead of behind the scenes. Good job today, Brad. You haven't been back behind the scenes running solo production, I think, in about 3 years. So it's an old school feel to today's Chiefs Live. But thanks for everybody for coming out. We'll be on Thursdays the rest of the year until training camp starts. Then we'll be nightly with you on Chiefs Live. OTAs start next week. We'll have exclusive content and interviews with you next Thursday, same time, same place, right here on KCChiefs.com. Take care, everybody.